What's up, guys? It's your girl Kizzy, aka Enlightened Intuitive, aka God's favorite lesbian fairy. We are back here with another video. And, in this series, I want to do something a little bit different. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath, and then I'll get into my Book of Light excerpt for today. And then I will get on with the story, right? Why are we here? So take a deep breath in with me. And out. And open yourself up to receiving this message. The call. Life is calling you. Life is calling you to move out of stagnation. Life is calling you to new and great adventures. All you have to do is say yes. You need only agree to make a commitment to honor what you came to Earth to do, which is to be who you truly are. As long as you can be who you are on every occasion, the rest will fall into place. Come and see life. Leave that cocoon, that vast but artificial feeling of comfort that you have entered into. If I do not take risks, I will never lose, you think. And neither will you ever gain, I say. So close your eyes, breathe deeply, spread your wings, and learn once and for all that learning how to fly begins inside you. Spirit. So in today's video, I want to talk about an experience I had with somebody that I met on Tinder and just how divinely guided it was, but also how it quite literally brought about a side and aspects to me that I never really thought about, right? Or was able to embrace or, see, such as the shadow, right? The shadow aspects of myself. And so I'd matched with this person. I'd matched with this person on Tinder years ago, right? When I was still living in Tallahassee. This was back when I was in Tallahassee. If you watch my videos, I have like a red shirt on, and I think it's about moving forward or something, like the key is to move forward or the key to success, something like that. That video is where I was in Tally. But basically, when I was in Tally this past year, which it is almost going to be a year since this happened, but when I was in Tally, I ended up matching with this person again, right? And so, when I matched with them again, I was like, oh my God, like I remember matching with this person. And at that time, they had long hair, but this time they had short hair. So I was just like, oh my God, like, wow, I matched with them again. Like maybe something will happen, maybe it won't, whatever. And so then after I matched with them, nothing happened, but I had asked God, right? I was like, it would be nice to have like a little boo, like somebody to like, maybe kiss a little bit, chill a little bit, vibe a little bit. So I said that to God, and I was like, because at this point I'd been single for like ever, like I hadn't been seeing anyone, I hadn't been hanging out with anyone, like I wanted a little bit of affection. So after I'd asked for that, shortly after they appeared into my reality. I don't remember if they messaged me first or I messaged them first. That night, or one night, I was going out to dinner. So I went out to dinner with myself and I came back. Mind you, I had a drink and I took myself out. So I was feeling good. I was like, oh, like I'm on a little vibe. Like, what if I just randomly hit up this person and was like, hey, want a match? Mind you, this is something I've never done, like ever. I've never just like spontaneously messaged someone and been like, want a match. Um, Mind you, it's like after 10 o'clock. So like I'm just on a whim. Like I kind of want to hang out with somebody right now. I'm feeling good. Like this is a good night. I think it was also a Friday or Saturday. So like I was like, all the vibes are here. I just need to like insert myself into a situation. Right. And so I ended up um, asking them if they wanted to match. And when I messaged them, they were actually down. So we ended up agreeing that we would match. But mind you, my stomach was hurting low key after dinner. And so I'd been like, I don't know if I'm gonna come because like my stomach, like, and I had to keep using the bathroom. So I was like, that would be embarrassing if like I went there and then I had to keep, you know what I mean? So I was like, I don't know if I'll come, but like I'll let you know if anything. And they were just like, okay, let me know, whatever. And they ended up telling me like they weren't even gonna um they were also thinking of not even hanging out because it was late, and they were like, oh, whatever. But we actually ended up hanging out, right? So again, divine alignment, right? They were brought to me, brought in my vicinity. All I had to do was take the step, and then we both already had like a little bit of conflict between even being able to actually meet up, but then we actually did meet up, right? So are this is God, right? God is working something. I have my notes right here. Something told me to message them. Like something was just like message them. Like they'd be down. Like you've already matched with them before. Like they're super cute. You've never met up with them. This will be something different for you. Like you're feeling good. Like let's do it. I was so down. And they were actually so down. And so um, I was pretty nervous before, as you always are meeting somebody from Tinder, right? For the first time, you're just like, you don't know what to expect, you don't know how it's gonna go, especially because God really aligned this for me. I was like, oh my God, like, okay, let's see, you know? So when I get there, I shit you not, um, the vibes, bro. Like, first of all, when I walk, wait, first of all, the complex that it's in is a complex that I spent most of my college years in. It was I don't remember if it's the complex on High Road. I think it's Aqua Club, or I don't remember what the name is, but it's the High Road complex that I spent a lot of my freshman college years in. And so that was already trippy to me. But when I got there and I got into their apartment, um, and I got into first of all, when I got into their apartment, I was like, oh my God, like this is bringing me back to like college and like when I had all my friends and like to where I used to be. Like, so already I'm sort of going back to my past in certain ways. But so I get to their room, right? Because they're gonna show me their room, we're gonna match, whatever. So I walk in there. Oh my goodness. They have like LED lights. They have like all this wall art. Like I'm telling you, like every place in the room is like covered with art. And it's not like basic art, like, oh, like thing here or there, oh, that here or there, like, oh, this basic star, this basic sun, right? This basic landscape. No, like every art piece is like just so immaculately creative and like created that I'm just like, oh my God. Like it's almost like like just imagine a room filled with art and like LED lights are on and it's like the lights off, it's dark, like music's playing, it's a vibe. Like just imagine that. So I walk in and I'm already like, oh my God, like this is wild. This is so beautiful. What the heck? Like I love your room, right? Just very beautiful, a very beautiful space, a safe vibe. Like I didn't it felt so good, it felt so creative, it felt so open, it felt so real, it felt so raw. It was just definitely something that I was really attracted to because I'm a creative myself, right? So I was just like, oh my God. Plus I love art and I love seeing people's art and like all that shit. So I was just like, I'm tripping out, right? But it's a good way at this point. I'm like, okay, like this is so cool, like wow, you're so cool. I don't know. So fast forward, we end up matching, right? Which matching is where you bring smokes and somebody else brings smokes and then you share it if you're not aware of what matching is. But so we sat on their couch and we just talked, you know, we smoked, but we also just talked. And, you know, they told me about some of their personal things and I told them about some of my personal things. You know, I mentioned my best friend betrayal and like just how I felt. And like they were so understanding and present. And they told me about you know, their friend that had passed and like how they're getting into spirituality. And like, you know, we were just really having conversation and we were really present with one another. And I feel like we were also very understanding, right? And the vibe was just very open and chill, which also freaked me out a little bit because I'm just like, I've never really had like, I don't know that I've ever really had a date where like there's no TV, you know, there's no, um, sort of distraction or anything. We're just like actually sitting, and then we're just actually talking and like smoking and just vibing. The vibe was very chill, was very lax, which I really loved. Um, and so eventually, now I didn't know I was gonna stay because I'm not the type of person to ever assume I'm gonna stay somewhere if I go to meet up with someone. It was late, like so you could assume, right? But I just don't like to do that. So I didn't know if I was gonna stay, but then they mentioned it and I was like, oh okay, like yeah, so that's the plan, like that's the play. So I did stay. Before we went to bed, I went to the bathroom. When I walk in the bathroom, you guys, they have post-its of affirmations on their mirror. And if you know me, you know how much affirmations are like my thing. Like they're not my thing, right? But like they're a thing for me. So when I saw that, I was also like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Like, who are you? Like your room is just like so creative. You're so creative. You're so cool. You're present with me. You're hearing me out. You're understanding me. The vibe is so easy. Like I was just at this point also just still like, okay, like this is real. Mind you, when we were hanging out and talking, I saw Angel Numbers and Satellite by Harry Styles came on, and I was like, oh, this is so divinely led. Oh my God. Like Satellite, that's also something else that's like tailored to me. So when that came on, I was like, oh, I love this song. And they were like, yeah, me too. And like the vibe, it was just like so surreal. But anyway, so we went to bed. We didn't have sex, but like, we did mess around a little bit. And then when it was time to go to bed, we were going to go to bed. Um, they were going to bed, I was going to bed, but I just could not stop thinking. Oh my God. Like, guys, my head was like filled with so many thoughts, especially of like my past relationships and like what this meant and like what this was that was happening and like how everything's just so like perfect and like how everything just felt so right. And like my mind was just like going a mile a minute. Like, I couldn't even tell you the straight thoughts that I was having. I was just like having a bunch of like about like how good this was, my past relationships, how I've never felt this, how I've never experienced this, how divinely led this felt, how right this felt, how cool this felt, how good this felt, how natural it felt. Like all those thoughts were going in my head. I barely slept because like I just could not even like stop thinking. Like my mind, mile a minute. So next morning we wake up, vibes are cool, but I notice I'm a little bit awkward. Like, and I don't exactly know why, but I'm like, okay, I feel awkward, but like whatever. Like they're so cute. Let's see what we're gonna do today. Like, what are we gonna get into? So we're just chilling. We just get up. We're just chilling. I think they made some avocado toast for themselves. I don't really like avocado, so I didn't eat any. But they made avocado toast, and then they ended up showing me um, a Harry Styles concert that they went to on their Mac, and then they felt called to show me their writing, and so they showed me their writing, and I got to see like their creativity and like their emotions come out in their writing. And I was just like, oh my God, like you're, again, I'm just like, you're so cool. Like you, like who are you? Like, and this is in my head, right? But I'm just like still understanding what's happening. Like I'm catching up, but I'm also like, what's going on? Like this is so like trippy, bro. Like it's like they are me being reflected back to me. And so I'm just like, you're like perfect. You know what I mean? Like you appear like this. Okay, right, that was basically my energy. But so we chilled for a bit. They showed me some things, we talked, and when they were showing me things, like I was definitely there and paying attention, but I was also still anxious. And I remember myself thinking like, how do I act around them, like questioning how to act and like what to do and like how I should be, and like just really overthinking myself and like sort of hyper aware of what I was doing and like how I was being. And I was like questioning myself and like doubting like everything. Like I was just so tripped out. But outside, I don't think they would have been able to tell, or they could tell. I can't speak for them, but like I don't feel like they could. But inside, I was definitely still trying to catch up. I was definitely still tripping, whatever. So then we decide we're gonna go to the store. They have a tattoo appointment later in the day, so I'm gonna leave later in the day. But like, we're gonna go to the store. Um, we're gonna pick up some food, and then we'll come back. Mind you, before that, we did spend a few hours sitting on the couch, cuddled up, watching BoJack Horseman, which that was the first time I've ever seen that show. That show was kind of interesting, but I was like, okay, like whatever. Um, and guys, when we were sitting on the couch for hours throughout the day, even after we came back from getting food, it's like the vibes, bro. Like first of all, the most affectionate I've ever been in my life. I've never ever been that affectionate ever in my life. And I never saw myself as somebody that was affectionate, especially like that. I'm like, what the hell, bro? Like, you would think that I'd known this person for like a minute before this, how like comfortable and easy and in flow and like chill everything was. Like, you would have thought we knew each other before we actually met this first time. That's how you also know it's divinely led, right? How it's meant to happen, because you just feel like you've met this person before. You just feel like this innate connection. And so I just really felt that. And like, you know, there would be moments where like I was sitting like this and they were sitting here, and like they'd lay on my knees, or like I would lay on their chest and like they were sitting here, and so like I'd wrap my hand around their like neck, and like it was just so like, guys, I'm having flashbacks right now, and I'm just like, ugh, like I've never experienced that in my life, but that shit was so cool. So anyways, we ended up going to the store, we got food, we came back, we sat down, ate, watched TV, vibed again. But it was just very passionate and very light and very free and very soft and very pure. But again, I was also still in my head. Like, I was there and I was experiencing it, and it was great. But also, I was still in my head. And so after that happened, eventually it's time for me to go. They have their tattoo appointment. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. Um, so I leave and I go home. And when I get home, I vibe with my sister and her friends for a little bit because they're about to go out. But I feel so good. Like, I just feel so elated. Like, it's almost like I'm feeling so euphoric. It's like I was standing and I was a physical being, but like I didn't feel like a physical being. Like, I felt so light. I felt so limitless and out of body that I just like was so happy. And so after I hung out with my sister's friends, and then before they left to go out that night, I sat down and I felt so good. And you guys, I started crying, like, because I felt so good. Like the euphoria, the intensity of light that I felt, and the intensity of like happiness, I started crying because I'm like, I've never experienced this before. Like, oh my God. Like, all of my other relationships, I've never experienced or felt this before. Like, what does that say about them? Like, this is so different. Like, everything's changed. I've changed. Like, all these things are coming to my head, and I'm just in my feelings. I'm feeling it. I'm happy. I'm feeling through it. I'm going through it. And so, okay, time passes by, and we talked for a week before what I'm going to tell you happened. So we talked for about a week, and throughout the week we would just talk. They told me that they wanted something casual. I was also down for something casual because I'm like, I'm not living in Tally. I don't really want a long distance relationship necessarily. So like, I'm definitely not really looking for like somebody to date or anything like that, like for real. But like, um yeah, so we were both in the same frame of mind on like dating casually and just sort of vibing with each other. But we would talk like every day, and we would talk about, deep things, real things, because we had a lot of resonances with each other, especially when it came to like our moms and like our family, and like, how emotional we are, like our creativity. We had a lot of similarities. And so, we spent that time talking. And then when shit went down was when, mind you, this whole week that I'm like talking to them, like I am thinking about them a lot. Like, they are like a focus of my mind. Like, I can't stop thinking about them. Like, I'm having a lot of thoughts about them, and it's sort of like obsessive, right? When you meet someone and you start dating them, and then you can't stop thinking about them, and like you start thinking about a future, and you start thinking about like all these things that are like not necessarily real, and like which I've learned is limerence, right? Was limerence, which is a state of infatuation or obsession with another person that involves an all consuming passion and intrusive thoughts. It is often a result of not being present either through trauma or certain childhood development issues. I realized after the fact that I was experiencing limerence, but that's what was happening. And so, I was just thinking about them a lot, and I felt myself losing control. Like it felt like I was losing control of like myself, but like my thoughts and like my mind, especially because everything from the past was in my mind, and like I had been crying and I was feeling so good, and I was like, "Oh my god." Like, so I was definitely in my head about them, but like I was still keeping it chill cuz I'm like, "No, like I got this. Like I'm okay. Like everything's okay." It was not okay. But I was just telling myself like it's okay. So we would just talk whatever. Um when we did talk, I did feel like they could sense, because I was very honest about like I haven't seen somebody in a while, but like this, like I was very honest about how I was feeling, as far as like me feeling so good about it, and like me not feeling that ever before, and like not having seen people in a while. So it's like I told them that, and like they were telling me like what they were going through and like what they were looking for, and I felt like we both felt a certain energy, but like we weren't really communicating it. So you know, that happened. Like that was a thing. So we get to the part where things are about to go down hill. Okay, so as I said, we were talking for like a week, and we were going to hang out again. So we planned to hang out again the following weekend, and I asked them if they wanted to go out, but they weren't sure. They were going to tell me the day of. So I'm talking to them, and they stop responding to me mid text message. Now, I know this is going to sound maybe loony right now, but when people stop responding to me mid text message, when people just sort of ignore me or just sort of like leave when I'm like talking to them and I want to talk to them and I'm excited to talk to them, I really like feel a way about it. So when that happened, when they did that, I just like was so upset. Like I was so almost, I want to say, distraught. Like I was just like, "Oh my god, like they stopped responding. Like how could they do that? Like we were having a conversation and they just leave mid conversation. Um like I feel like they're not being there for me. Like what are they doing? Like how can they just leave?" Like I felt so many feelings of just like, I want to say betrayal, like they ended up telling me. And like, I just felt a lot of feelings of like lack and like questioning, right? And doubt and just like fear. And I was like, oh my God, like, I was really hurt. And so, they didn't respond for like, I think the rest of that day. And then they responded, I think the next day. But when they weren't responding, I was in my head and I was definitely just feeling low. And so the next day, um they still hadn't responded. Mind you, the next day it is gloomy outside, it is raining outside, and so that gloomy and rainy weather is a situation that would set up a situation for me to be in my feelings. So that put me even more in my feelings. And so I remember laying down and just being sad, like kind of in fetal position, and just like telling myself, like, it's okay, you're enough. I feel like even in my dreams, I was kind of recognizing what was happening. And like when I woke up and like when I was in my waking life, I was trying to like tell myself, like, it's okay, like, you are enough, like, don't worry. I even used my book of light multiple times throughout it, and the pages that came out were passion, detachment, attachment, and saying I'm sorry. And so at this point, I had read detachment, attachment, and passion, but I was so in my head and I was so upset. Like I was mad, but I was also sad, but I was sad, but I was marking it as mad. So I was coming at it from a more mad perspective, a more like defensive perspective than like sad, because I wanted to hide my sadness. Um, but yeah. throughout the day it was just gloomy and I was feeling upset and I had to, be there for myself. And I sat on the porch, right? My sister had like a balcony at that time at that apartment in Tally. And I sat on the balcony and it was raining, right? And it was gloomy and I was just so sad and I was like, "Oh my god, like I need to text them because I felt like I needed to tell them how I felt because if I think they ended up responding and that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to tell them because I was like, I can't move forward without telling them because I was feeling what I was feeling so deeply. And like if I hadn't told them, I wasn't going to be able to just hang out with them because I was experiencing so much on my end. And so before I texted them, I knew that um it was too much. Like this at this point my brain is like split into two. Part of me knows that what I'm feeling is irrational and it doesn't make complete sense and it's not completely like rational, but I'm also like I can't stop myself. Like this is how I feel. Like this is so real for me. So part of me is like this is irrational, but part of me is like this is so real. So before I text them, I go in my notes section and I'm like,
the present moment. I'm not sure how to feel. I'm not sure what to think. And I don't even think that it matters what I think. Not in a sense of invalidation, but in a sense of who cares about what I should think or feel. What do I actually feel? I feel sad and uneasy. I like connecting with and talking to them feels nice. But when I was talking to them yesterday, they just stopped responding, and I don't like that. When they stop responding and don't respond again, the story I tell myself is that they don't care, that I'm not important enough, or that I don't deserve the consideration of a response, even if that response is that they are busy. I don't want to say that I like them, because in truth, I don't believe I really know them enough. But what I can say is that I enjoy them. I like being with them, and speaking with them makes me happy. It upsets me because I don't feel like I'd ever just leave a conversation with them like that. So why do they do it to me? I know it's not about judging them and that it's more about me, but I'm just thinking. I deeply understand that things happen in life and that sometimes you can't respond. I just want to be considered, thought about enough to be considered. And when I feel like I'm not, it makes me sad because it's something that I need. And when I'm not getting that, I feel neglected, like I don't matter. And I don't and I like them, so I want to matter to them. It's okay if I don't, but I'd rather know that than to be left in the dark, wondering, guessing, overthinking. I think I worry about scaring them off and being too much too soon, but I genuinely don't think I'm doing too much. I think I just have emotions and I'm a very sensitive person. Things that I find upsetting, not everyone else does. I feel like this is about accepting who I am, being vulnerable about that, and allowing others to respond how they want, knowing that that doesn't mean anything about me. If they reject me, if they feel I'm too much, if they don't feel they can give me what I need, that doesn't mean that something is wrong with me or that I should dim myself down in order to have this relationship. It means I should go elsewhere, where my needs can be met, where my emotions are understood and received in a way that doesn't demonize them as extra. I like them, but not more than I like me. I worry about how I am coming off because I feel like I have so many thoughts slash emotions about this relationship and we only hung out one time. It feels like it doesn't make logical sense. So I psych myself out into believing that it's too much, but given the circumstances, it makes sense to me. It would be the ego to say that it's too much or to demonize it as me being weird or obsessive or clingy. Maybe I am clingy, but I don't believe that's what's happening right now. If they can't handle my emotions, then I can't be with them in any capacity because, yes, I feel a lot. I feel deeply. I feel strongly. And I know it may not make a whole lot of sense, but it is what it is. I feel like I'm being guided to be vulnerable with myself and also them about how this makes me feel and what I need slash want moving forward. It'd be disappointing for them to perceive me in the wrong way, but that's a risk I'm willing to take if it means that I will have clarity in my soul. I am enough. I am worthy of speaking up for what I need. I am worthy of a response back and a consideration. I am worthy of having emotions, even though they are deep. There is nothing wrong with me or my emotions, only ways to improve upon how I handle them. I love you.
that was what I wrote before I was gonna text them. So before I texted them, I low key already knew that they were going to reject me. Like I already saw it play out, and I already saw them say it was too much, and I already felt like it was too much. Like I said, because part of me was being real, and part of me was me being illogical. But I was also just like, well, I can't really move forward without saying it because I felt it so strongly. So I texted them how I felt, and we were supposed to hang out that night. But I texted them how I felt, and when I texted them, I feel like I thought in my irrational mind, or like my fantasy, limerence, dreamy mind, that they were going to sort of cater to and coddle me and my insecurity and my, fears and doubts and wounds and traumas. But the actual opposite happened. Like I knew would happen, right? They rejected me and they were basically just like, whoa, like I'm sorry that like you're feeling all these things, but like I'm just busy, and like this is actually making me very anxious. And um, basically they were just telling me how, you know, um, they needed time because of what I'd said. They needed to think about it, and that it did make them anxious, and that they were busy, and that they didn't mean to hurt me. And I was like, okay, like cool, playing it cool still. But I'm really not cool. Like I'm low key stressed because I already know they're gonna reject me, right? I already knew. Like I'm sort of already from the beginning. I was already like like make manifesting what was going to happen right now. So when I told them, they were like, okay, like I'll get back to you, whatever. So they got back to me. When they got back to me, they were like basically saying that, it's too much too soon, and um that they think it's a red flag how I'm feeling all these things so soon. These like feelings of betrayal is what they specifically said. And basically it was just too much for them. Like I already knew it was, but like I already knew and felt that they would reject all of my feelings, especially because it was very fast, very soon. You know what I mean? I can completely see it from their perspective, but in this moment, I'm just like, I can't. Like, I'm not in my right mind, but it's like I am, right? But this is my shadow coming alive. This is my shadow being brought to the light up within me from this situation. And so it's really like, how am I going to handle this, right? What's going to happen? And so they ended up rejecting me, and we were supposed to hang out, and they were just like, I don't think it's a good idea we hang out tonight. Um, Whatever the case may be. And so I was like, okay, I went out. I still went out because I was like, I already planned to go out. So I was going to go out. I went out. And at this point, I'm still in my ego. Like, I'm still thinking, like, oh, like, if they don't accept me, like, forget them, like, my emotions aren't too much. Like, I'm still in that defensive, like, ego. Like, I'm already preparing to be rejected. So I'm already ready to, like, ah, you know what I mean? So I go out and I just have a good time, whatever. So the next day, basically, that's when they ended up telling me, like, hey, like, no, this isn't gonna work, like, it's too much, blah, blah, blah. And um, that's when I remember I was outside, and they were telling me, right? Basically, they texted me that they were rejecting me, basically. And I just remember myself feeling so much energy in my body, and like I remember acting impulsively, and I was just like, how can you like lay up with me and like tell me stuff and like talk to me about real shit and like kiss me, but like the moment that I have real needs and like feelings, like it's too much for you. Like I don't understand that. Like I was acting out, and what acting out means is when an individual is behaving in an impulsive and unrestrained way. It is a defense mechanism in which repressed or hidden emotions are brought out in a negative manner. It typically manifests itself in negative behaviors like tantrums, addiction, and attention seeking actions. I was definitely having a low key tantrum when they rejected me. And then after I had the tantrum, basically saying that, they were like, oh, like I'm not going to argue with you, like I don't think we're understanding each other. And I was like, okay, whatever. um and then I had their shorts, and I told them, like, okay, just let me know when I can drop off the shorts, and they were like, you can keep them. So they were done with me, and I was like, okay, true. But at this point, I'm still in my feelings. I'm still sort of fighting that I'm doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? I'm still sort of fighting that, like, fighting for it not being too much, and fighting to sort of be right, and sort of, deny that I'm being rejected, and deny that this is happening, and deny that I'm like ruining it. Like, this is not like their fault. It's actually like me doing something. So, whatever. I'm still salty about it, but I go to lay down, and um I think this is the next day, actually. So I wake up and I'm laying down, and I'm just so sad. Like I'm like, I can't believe I did that. Like I can't believe I acted out like that. I can't believe I just like ruined that. I can't believe like felt so emotional and I was so deep in it and like my feelings were like so much and like I can't believe I look so crazy. You know what I mean? Because I did only hang out with this person one time, you guys, and like this one time made me go like completely 180. You know what I mean? And so it was just really weird for me. And again, I was on defense. So um I flipped a page in my book of light and the page was saying I'm sorry because I was on defense, right? I was in my ego and I was like, I don't want to say sorry. What am I saying sorry for? Like they rejected me. Like sure I made them anxious, but like, you know, that just means they learned something. Like that just means that was supposed to happen. Um, but then I saw the saying I'm sorry page from God, and I also felt that I needed to say sorry, but I was so embarrassed and I was so ashamed that I had acted that way, especially because my Tinder bio said that I was emotionally intelligent. And so I'm just like, this is not showing my emotional intelligence. Like, this makes me look like a fraud. This makes me look insane. This makes me look like, girl, what's wrong with you? And so I was just like, I don't want to say sorry because again, I'm fighting against my insecurity, right? Me being rejected. I'm defending myself against being um turned away, right? And when you get rejected, that is when the ego comes out. So my ego is coming out and I was like um feeling upset. And so then I saw that saying I'm sorry thing and that's when I realized, okay, like that's true. Like I do need to say sorry. Like and I was crying because I can't believe I acted like that, but I was also like I can't believe like I did that to them. Like I can't believe the whole thing. But also I feel like I was crying because my past traumas and like everything that was just sort of creating the situation for me and like God being there and all this. So I cried and then I ended up texting them an apology and I was like let me see what I said. I said, hey, you don't have to respond to me at all, but I just wanted to reach out and say sorry for making you uncomfortable and causing you to have anxiety. I've honestly never experienced this before, and I feel like the intensity that I felt after we hung out really clouded my judgment, triggering me to act out in certain aspects and veer away from my usual way of going about things. My ego took the lead here, and it was definitely intense, very soon. And I didn't consider it to be unhealthy until I started doing research and actualizing how it actually affected my psyche. It's a very interesting and weird space to be in, but it seems like my brain began moving in a fear based way. It was never my intention to make it all as messy and grand as it feels like it was, and your boundaries are so very valid. I actually do agree with you that I was projecting onto you my own internal workings. You reflected a lot of things back to me as a means for my development and growth. I do wish that we communicated in a better way that allowed more openness and fluidity, but either way, I completely understand my behavior being a red flag as it is. Ultimately, I am still deeply grateful for the experience I had and the healing opportunity to learn, improve, and be better for my future. And so, yeah, throughout it, they did mention that um, they felt like I was projecting onto them, which I was. You know what I mean? That whole situation was me creating a too good to be true sort of situation, you know? Because again, when I walked into their room, I was already like, oh my God. And then when they were like showing me their things, I was feeling anxious and I was feeling doubtful. And it's like they were reflecting back to me who I am, but they were also reflecting back to me who I was not allowing myself to be. Like at that time, I really wasn't allowing myself to be creative. I really wasn't allowing myself to really be myself. And so it's like I saw them as better than me, as higher than me, and I saw myself as not enough. And so I automatically, but didn't even know it, but like my nervous system had been shot and I was already manifesting that they would reject me because I wasn't enough. I was already manifesting that it wasn't going to work because I'm too much, because I'm not enough, because they're too cool, right? And so basically that situation came about because I manifested it, right? Because I didn't feel like I was enough for that situation. It felt too good to be true. And when things feel too good to be true, what do? self sabotage, especially when we don't feel deserving of it. And I did not feel deserving of it. And especially because my past insecurities were coming up, and this was the first time I'd really hung out with somebody since, like, a few years. I was just so, my nervous system was shot, and I just was not able to act from a space of safety. And I literally went into like fear and overdrive and defense and sadness. So I just remember after being like, yeah, that was irrational. That was crazy. And I hate to say the word crazy. And then that's also what made me think like people that are crazy are not actually crazy, because I see myself as crazy in half the scenario. Again, half my brain, right? I see myself as being irrational. I see myself as being wrong. But on the other side, it's like what I was feeling, I was really feeling it, but it wasn't coming from them. You know what I mean? But I was putting it on to them in the situation as a way to sort of manifest that self sabotagey, let's ruin this, right? This is not right for me type of thing. And so, I was able to see after it happened and after it really calmed down how I was doing too much. And like I already saw that, but like I was able to see it more clearer. And I was able to see like, oh, that was my shadow coming out, right? Especially when they rejected me. When you experience things like rejection and abandonment, it makes you want to bring out those shadow aspects, right? That sadness, that defensiveness, that ego. And so that's really what happened for me. And after, they ended up blocking me on TikTok and Instagram, and I hadn't talked to them after. And I was just like, wow, like as time passed on, I was like, that feels like a fever dream. Like that feels like that didn't even happen. Like it was so like here and then, like it really came and went. But especially because I feel like I was not in my body during the whole experience. Like I was also freaking out on my own. You know what I mean? And I was also in two minds on my own. After, I was just like, holy crap, like that doesn't even feel real. But it's like it was real. I really experienced that time with them. And I'm still so grateful that I experienced that time with them. And I feel like it was a really great time. I don't, you know, um, regret spending time with them. I don't regret doing what I did either, because it did help me to learn and like see my shadow and like learn and understand more about myself. But I feel like I just wish I handled it differently in certain aspects. I know I just said I don't feel like I regret anything, but like I do feel like I wish I did do things differently in hindsight, but I'm also just like, well, it was supposed to happen that way. I was projecting that they were perfect and that everything was perfect, but like low key, I did intuitively see signs of disconnect and things like that, but I sort of just ignored them because I was, again, projecting this fantasy onto this person. Like I said, I didn't even know them, but I was feeling all these things. Like I literally said, I don't know you, but like I like you. Like what? Like so, I really just came out of myself, it felt like, but the truth is that that was me. I didn't come out of myself. That was me. That was just my shadow. And that's when I learned that, I'm not perfect. And like that was another thing, because I'm just like, damn, like this person I just met, right? Now they've seen my shadow, like I feel like they've seen me, right? And the parts of me that I don't necessarily like feel are pretty, and I'm just like, oh my god, like they see me, like I'm not perfect, like I'm on social media, like how do I look? Like I probably look like a fraud. And so I just had to like also like deal with the fact of like see, like this is who I am. You know what I mean? And like it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to still be growing. It's okay to still be healing. It's okay to still be learning. And I had to really accept that with this situation, because um it happened, right? I couldn't hide from it. They knew it happened. I knew it happened. They saw my bio. I saw my bio. And so I feel like that was God first, like bringing out my shadow aspects, but also getting me to see like you do deserve good things. You do deserve to have the perfect person. You do deserve to have somebody who reflects back to you. You do deserve to have a loving, easy, kind, caring, flow, pure connection like I had with this person. But I had to realize, like, am I ready for that? You know what I mean? Am I able to really handle it if it really came into my life? And I think that was God saying, Yeah, so okay, you want to date somebody, you want to do a little whatever. Okay, sure. Here's somebody, right? And they gave me somebody that was really perfect, you know what I mean? And I ended up showing my ass. And so it's just like, was I really ready? And I wasn't. Right. And so I think that's what God wanted me to see, but also my shadow aspects and like to understand that I'm not perfect, but that I don't have to be. You know what I mean? And that, it doesn't make me a fraud just because I'm still learning, just because I act out, just because I don't know how to navigate everything in my life, as it comes. I'm still learning. And I think that's also something I had to learn and just be open to basically being seen, right? And all that I am. And even if that seems fucking batshit crazy, that's what it is. So I just felt really crazy after, but I was like, I'm also not crazy. So that's when I was like, I understand why people don't like using that word, because like crazy people aren't actually crazy. Like they're just different. Like they're just struggling. They're just in their own creative mind. You know what I mean? And so I was just like, how do I feel about that word? I still kind of say it to this day, but like I do try to not say it as much. But yeah, I just felt low key crazy, but I was still, part of me was still just like, no, but I was really feeling that because I was, you know? And so, now I'm learning that I have rejection wounds and I have abandonment wounds and I do have insecurities about not really being accepted for who I am and, my emotionality and how emotional I am and how deep I am and, how strongly I feel things, because I was feeling things strongly, but again, it was too fast, too soon. It's not wrong that I was feeling how I was feeling, but it is inappropriate, right? It's not really making sense that I'm feeling so much so soon. Like all of what I was feeling wasn't coming from them. It was coming from me and my own insecurities. And so, you know, I'm healing, right? I'm healing. And I'm not perfect. And I'm a human being and I have shadow aspects, and even though I'm on social media, like that doesn't mean I have everything together. That doesn't mean that I don't have shadow aspects. That doesn't mean that I, you know, um don't ever do anything wrong, right? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean I'm always right. And that's a normal part of life. Like even being in the media, even being out there, right? I'm not always going to be perfect. Even like I said, my Tinder bio said emotionally intelligent. That was not me showing emotional intelligence. And I think that's what made me like the most like, oh my God. Like, bitch, you have emotionally intelligent. You have emotionally intelligent in your bio. And then you meet someone for the first time and like that just went out the window. And I said, yeah, it kind of did. It really did go out the window. My nervous system just could not take it, and I just was not in my right frame of mind. But it's like, and part of me was like, "Who is this bitch?" But it's like that was me. You know what I mean? Like that was me. Like I can say like, "Oh, I don't know who that person was that came out," but it's like, no, it was me. It was just my shadow, which I feel like God was alerting me to, right? So I can heal, right? That insecurity, those past relationships, those wounds, so I don't project my things onto other people, so I don't fantasize and obsess over people when I meet them, so I'm able to take things slow and see things as they are. You know what I mean? And so I think even just sharing this story is going to help me heal, and it is helping me heal, and it's also going to help me further feel my rejection wounds and my abandonment wounds. And I just wanted to let you know too, like it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to have a shadow. It's just about what you do after the fact. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I was not going to say sorry because I was just so ashamed and I was just so like, no, like I can't even, like I'm not even. But then I had to like drop my guard and I had to be like, no, like that was too much. Like, no, I am sorry that I caused you anxiety. Like, no, I did not mean to do all that. Like, no, I understand you. And God also led me to that, right? God was part of that because I was thinking to say sorry, but a large part of me was just like, no, I'm not going to say sorry because that's just way too much. And like, I can't even admit that like I did that because like that wasn't me, but it was me, you know? And it's okay to own up to your mistakes and own up when you do things that are not right. You know what I mean? Or when you do things that don't show yourself in the best light, right? And I think it's also for me to like own who I am, own that experience. I learned that I'm a very affectionate person. I learned that relationships can be easy and kind and pure and loving and soft and in flow. I learned that I do deserve, an equal partnership, right? Somebody who is like me to be reflected back to me in my romantic relationship. I do deserve to be happy. I do deserve to relieve myself of my trauma. But it's like I also need to sit with myself, right? I need to sit with my shadow. I need it, and I need to sit with my shadow. I need to sit with my insecurities, right? My rejection wounds, my abandonment wounds, where I feel like I'm not enough, why I feel like I'm not enough, where I feel like I need more, where I feel like I'm not letting myself show up as myself so that I'm not looking for it in other people, right? Obsessing over other people, getting caught up on other people, making other people out to be things that they are not, right? Getting caught up in this space of like, oh, like fantasy, right? That limerence, that sort of imagination, right? And so if you watch this whole video, thank you so much for being here. I love you. I appreciate you dearly. Um, I hope that after you watch this video, you have a great rest of your day. You have a great rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this. Um, and learn from me. Okay, learn from me. I'm learning from me. You can learn from me, or you cannot, right? But hey, I'm just so glad that I shared this, because even when it happened, I remember telling myself like, I definitely need to make a YouTube video about this. But then I was like, I can't make a YouTube video. But then I was like, so here I am. I sort of manifested this moment even. But all of that was very divinely led, and I'm grateful for the experience once again. So that is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you on the next video. Peace.